Want to turn the tide in water treatment? You're in the right place. Welcome to Water Management Insights. We tackle the trickiest water issues and bring you the latest solutions. Join us in this podcast and stay ahead of the flow.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to dive into the world of legionella.
Oh.
Yeah, these tiny bacteria that can be kind of hiding in water systems.
Right.
And they can actually cause some pretty big health risks.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, you might be thinking like, legionella, why should I even care about this? But get this. A recent study found that a surprisingly high percentage of water samples actually tested positive for this bacteria, like for these harmful bacteria. It's a little unsettling.
Yeah, it is. It really highlights how important this is. You see, this bacteria can cause a really severe form of pneumonia, actually called Legionnaire's disease.
Oh, wow.
Which is, especially dangerous for people with weakened immune systems.
So we're talking about like a hidden threat here that could be in places we go every day, like hospitals, hotels, even our homes. And to make things even more, interesting, there are new standards in place to address this, right?
That's right, yeah. In 2024, the Joint Commission, which kind of sets the bar for healthcare organizations, rolled out stricter water safety standards to prevent outbreaks of Legionnaire's disease. And, navigating these new regulations, they can be complex, but there are companies like Legionella Specialties that are stepping up to help facilities stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, so this is where it gets intriguing for me. It's like almost like a detective story. We've got this potential threat, we've got new rules in place to try to combat it, and now we've got these Legionella specialists on the case.
Right.
Tell me more about how they actually tackle this challenge.
Well, they take a very systematic approach.
Okay.
They start by really meticulously mapping out a building's entire water system. So that means pipes, tanks, fixtures, everything.
Yeah.
It's like creating a blueprint for tracking down any potential problem areas.
So they're like water system detectives searching for clues where these bacteria might be hiding.
Exactly. They're looking for places where the water could become stagnant, which is a breeding ground. And they're paying special attention to those high-risk areas, like those that are housing patients with compromised immune systems.
Right.
So, yeah, they leave no stone unturned.
Sounds like step one is all about, understanding the lay of the land.
Right.
Pinpointing those potential weak spots
Yes.
in the water system.
Yes.
What happens next?
Once they've identified those risks, they're developing a tailored plan of attack, a risk management plan that's specific to that facility.
Okay.
And this plan, outlines all the steps that they need to take to minimize the growth and prevent it from spreading.
So it's not just about finding the problem, it's about creating this roadmap to actually solve it.
Precisely. And that leads us to the next phase, where they help facilities develop or fine-tune what's called their water management program. And think of that as a comprehensive guidebook for maintaining water safety.
Okay.
Including protocols for testing and monitoring and responding to potential issues.
It sounds incredibly thorough. All this planning and analysis, it makes me wonder, do they actually get their hands dirty?
Oh, absolutely. They're not just consultants.
Okay.
They offer a whole suite of services to put those plans into action. So things like facility surveys, sample testing, developing remediation plans.
Wow.
They even have a customer portal where facilities can easily communicate and manage their program.
So they're really in the trenches with these facilities, making sure those plans translate into real-world solutions.
Exactly. And they go the extra mile to ensure the accuracy of their testing.
Okay.
They work with labs that participate in the CDC's ELITE program, which means, these labs have proven their ability to reliably isolate the bacteria. So it's like a seal of approval for your testing methods.
Well, okay, so they're not cutting any corners when it comes to accuracy.
Not at all.
It makes sense. You need to be absolutely sure about those test results, especially when we're talking about public health.
You got it.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a rather intriguing statistic. According to Legionella Specialties, 20 to 30% of the 3,000 tests they've conducted have come back positive for Legionella pneumophila.
Hold on. Wait, 20 to 30%? That's a lot higher than I would have expected.
It's a number that certainly grabs your attention, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Suddenly, this whole issue feels a lot more real. Knowing that those bacteria could be lurking in so many water systems, it's a little unsettling, to be honest. But what does a positive test result actually mean? What happens next?
Well, they have a system for classifying the risk based on those test results.
Okay.
They have 3 categories.
Okay.
High, medium, and low.
So high risk is bad news, low risk is good news, and medium is somewhere in between.
You got it. High risk means 30% or more of the water samples came back positive.
Okay.
In that case, immediate action is needed. Think of it as a 5-alarm fire you need to contain it fast.
Right.
They recommend disinfecting the entire water system and then retesting to make sure it actually worked.
Oh, wow.
And even after that, ongoing monthly testing is crucial to keep things under control.
It's not a one-and-done situation.
Yep.
You need to stay vigilant,
Yeah,
even after addressing that initial problem.
exactly. Now, medium risk is a bit less urgent, but it still requires attention. This means less than 30% of the samples were positive. Disinfection might not be needed right away, unless there's a known case of Legionnaire's disease. But regular monitoring is still highly recommended.
So even if the risk isn't, like, at that critical level,
Right.
a proactive approach is still really key.
Exactly. And remember, even a low-risk situation shouldn't be ignored. Just because your initial tests are negative doesn't mean you're in the clear forever.
Right.
It can be a bit unpredictable, appearing and disappearing based on all sorts of factors.
So regular monitoring is vital.
Yeah.
Regardless of your risk level. It's, like you said earlier, vigilance is crucial.
Couldn't agree more. And that brings us to another crucial aspect of Legionella management: treatment.
Okay, so we've talked about identifying risks, mapping out plans, keeping a close eye on things through testing. But what about actually getting rid of Legionella if it's found? Like, how do they do that?
Well, it's important to understand that this often hides out in something called biofilm.
Okay.
Think of it as a slimy shield that bacteria create to protect themselves. And it can build up inside pipes and make it harder to eliminate them. It's like, trying to break through a fortress.
So you can't just dump some chlorine in there and call it a day?
Unfortunately, no. It's not that simple.
Okay.
While chlorine can be effective, it's often not enough to completely eradicate it, especially when it's hiding behind that biofilm barrier.
Right.
Plus, using high levels of chlorine over long periods, it can damage pipes.
Right, so almost like using a sledgehammer when you need a scalpel.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the solution? How do you penetrate that biofilm and eliminate these really stubborn bacteria?
Well, Legionella Specialties uses a few different techniques.
Okay.
One option is superheating and flushing the water system. They basically crank up the heat to kill the bacteria and then flush everything out to remove the debris.
Sounds pretty intense. Are there other options?
Another method is hyperchlorination, which is kind of like a shock treatment with a high dose of chlorine.
Right.
However, this is usually a temporary measure because of that potential damage to the pipes over time.
So we've got the heat method, we've got the chlorine method, both with their pros and cons. Is there a third option?
There is, and this is where Legionella Specialties, I think, really stands out.
Oh.
They've developed a specialized product called AquaGuard MO
Okay.
that they use in conjunction with their treatment systems.
AquaGuard MO. What's so special about that?
Well, it's significantly more effective than chlorine alone.
Okay.
They claim it's 10 times more effective.
Wow.
But what's really fascinating is that it's also safe to drink. It's EPA approved and has a drinking water certification, which means it meets the highest standards for purity.
So it's tough on bacteria, but gentle on humans.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty impressive. What else makes it stand out?
Well, unlike chlorine, it won't corrode pipes even with long-term use. In fact, it has a mild descaling action. So it actually helps to clean the pipes
Wow.
and improve their efficiency. So it's kind of like a multitasking superhero for your water system.
Okay, so it's effective, it's safe, it's non-corrosive, and it even cleans the pipes. AquaGuard MO is starting to sound like a miracle product, but how do they get it into the water system?
They've developed a cutting-edge injection system that delivers the perfect amount based on the building's water flow.
Okay.
It's a smart system that's constantly monitoring and adjusting those disinfectant levels in real time.
Real-time adjustment. So it's almost like having a tiny water treatment plant
Right,
there in the building.
exactly. It ensures that every drop of water is clean and free of the bacteria, but while staying within those safety limits set by the Joint Commission.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. It's like having this built-in safety net for the entire water system. But how do they know it's working? Do they have to constantly check the levels manually?
Not at all. The system has real-time monitoring capabilities, so you can track water quality and disinfectant levels from a central dashboard.
Really?
So it provides peace of mind for facility managers and contributes to patient safety by providing that real-time data. It's like having your finger on the pulse of the entire water system.
This whole system is really impressive. From identifying risks to implementing solutions, it seems like they've got it all covered.
A comprehensive approach, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's designed with patient safety as the top priority.
We've covered a lot of ground here today. We've learned about the dangers of legionella, those new Joint Commission standards, and how Legionella Specialties is helping facilities tackle this complex issue.
It's been quite a deep dive so far.
Absolutely. But before we resurface, I can't help but think back to that statistic we mentioned earlier. 20 to 30% of those tests coming back positive.
Right.
That's a bit of a wake-up call, wouldn't you say?
It certainly puts the importance of what we're discussing into perspective.
Yeah, it makes you wonder just how widespread this issue really is. Join us for part 2 of our deep dive as we explore the brighter implications of those positive test results.
Okay.
And what they might mean for different types of facilities. Stay tuned.